sponsors. With Wendy going to be coming back onto the show, we're going to try to get some other special guests onto the show and have some cool interactions with people. We want to ensure that we're bringing good quality content. And with that being said, we're going to go right into our tactical gear review.
So for this week's tactical gear review item, I have something that everybody usually carries on them. This one is a present from my parents from Christmas time. Let's see here. All right, perfect. You can see that it was custom made as far as the engraving on there with my nickname that they called me growing up, along with that year's Christmas date. It looks like a buck knife, when it's all folded up. It's got a decent sized blade on it. Nice part is when it was wrapped inside the box, it came in a display case. So when I'm not carrying this knife, I can have it on display. But fresh from factory, it came out really sharp. It would cut right through what I needed it to that day. And I mean, it's still sharp right now. And I think I've only used it a handful of times since.
Absolutely, that's awesome, man. Like you said, when it comes to tactical gear and how most people carry knives, I got my pocket knife that I keep on me. This one is just like a little generic knife. It's a SERE knife. It's pretty nice. It's got a little button release on it, little nice thumb flip out, which is cool. Fits in the pocket really well. Seatbelt cutter on the back. It's always good to carry a knife. You never know when you're going to need it. Opening a box, opening a letter, protecting yourself. I mean, there's so many different things that knives can be used for. But for my tactical, Jesus, I can't talk right now. My tactical gear item, we're going to be talking about the Odin Gear or Odin Works ORB bag. It is a smaller sling bag, single strap. Throw it over your shoulder, kind of like a quiver, I guess, for a bow and arrow system. When you open up the physical bag, there's a little pocket up here on the top where you can store like your wallet or phone or things like that. On the inside here, there's another pocket up top that you can open up, and it's a pocket extender allowing a longer barrel to go through. But what's nice about it is you can put a lower on this side, and then on the inside there is a sleeve that you can put your upper in. So like this particular rifle here, you can see it's got the suppressor on the end. When you take down your AR and separate it, I put the lower in this section of the actual bag. I'll slide the upper down in here, and then I can stab the suppressor up through the top, and it's still inside of the bag and protected from the elements. On this side, I could have another little pocket here that I can stuff something in, which is nice. And it's got another little pocket up here as well for protection. Top little pouch here is kind of like an admin pouch on the physical bag. So you can carry little things in here. It's got a little D-ring for your keys, which is nice. So nice little admin pouch. Velcro spot for your morale patches, things like that. When you open that pouch up, it's got some pockets in here, some magwell pockets. So like in here I can carry, well actually what's cool about this, like I said, you can do your lower here, your barrel in the middle sleeve, and then I can put like my CZ Scorpion in here as well. So this gun will fit in there with this gun, all in one pretty compact little bag. So CZ mags, 9mm mags, anything like that. And then I still have a good amount of space here up in the front. The lower pouch does have that molly loop webbing on it, which is also Velcro for like morale patches, things like that. I can fit about 8 20-round AR-15 mags in this pouch, or about 6 of the 30-round mags. And then you can fit a bunch of 10-round mags in here as well, which I'm not buying 10-round mags. This is not California. No, not doing that. So the bag's pretty cool. Nice good quality. It's got a side handle for carry. It's got a top handle for carry. Like I said, it literally just slings over, which is nice. It actually works really well with a plate carrier too. So like I have the Tech 511 plate carrier, and it'll literally go over, and then it's got a shoulder strap that'll come across as well to help secure. So it's a pretty nice little bag for the range. Allows you to carry one or two guns safely, comfortably, and you can carry a bunch of ammo and stuff in it too. So it makes it pretty versatile.
Yeah, I mean, I will agree with that. Overall, carrying two other guns along the range with you, along with your EDC handgun, it makes it a multiversal ordeal in a, excuse my French here, shit hit the fan moment. Let's say you run through all your handgun ammo through 2 magazines, which is what usually most people carry on their EDC setup, and you're carrying that with you. You still have 2 extra firearms with the mags set up. You get to cover, you set up the AR, throw in your 30 round mag, not your 10 round, because, California is weird like that. And you just run it. I mean, full send or no send, right?
Full send, 100%. So that actually brings up a topic that I kind of want to dig into a little bit more. I mean, obviously, we've asked this question once before. I see we got a couple of viewers watching. We thank you guys for watching. If you have a particular concealed carry firearm that you like to carry, throw it up in the comments, right? So, like, I'm seeing now, and this is kind of weird, right? Because normally you're looking at carrying something that is more compact, your micro pistols, things like that. So Glock 43, Glock 43X, SIG P365, either the X or the XL, or even just the standard. And then you've got your Smith & Wesson M&P Shield. I'm starting to see more dudes run full-size pistols, like the Janik, for example, the FS Elite. I've seen people carrying that. I've seen people carrying full size 1911s, like concealed carry. One thing that I've noticed too, and this kind of didn't make sense to me off the bat, because I'll tell you what, my full size pistol is a SIG 320X5. I am not carrying that concealed. That gun is massive, right? So with that being said, seeing these guys carry that, it's not the skinnier guys that you would think would be able to like kind of hide it better. We're talking dudes that are bigger guys, got the beer gut, are carrying full size pistols. What's your take on that, Jax? First, well, two questions. It's a two-part question. What would be your preferred concealed carry firearm? And are you carrying micro or are you carrying full size?
Okay, for starters, I'm going to say I feel personally attacked by the beer gut statement, but I'll let
Direct
it slide.
shots fired.
However, me personally, obviously, Minnesota doesn't necessarily have a conceal law to carrying. You can open carry if you want, but as we posed that question before too, why would you? Why would you want the bad guy to know what you have with you if you're in that situation and have to use it? I myself, starting out, I looked really highly upon the XEM 3.8 subcompact 40 cal, which is made by Springfield. However, as much as I know they say firepower doesn't matter because you can really get away with carrying a 22 and it'll deal more damage, honestly, and this is something that I've kind of picked up on with Griff, he's still sticking with Springfield, but he's carrying the Hellcat 9mm now, which is a smaller 9mm XD based model. It's I wouldn't even reckon to guess it's a tad smaller than the XD9. So that would be my go-to as of today, as we're currently speaking about it. I would go with something smaller to conceal, even being a smaller guy myself, trying to pack on some weight with the beer gut.
I feel you. I feel you. I personally, I carry a SIG 365. I'm a SIG guy. I used to be a Glock guy. I've got the 43X. I've got a SIG 365. I've had the M&P Shield. I've had Springfields. I've had a Hellcat. Um, the Hellcat doesn't personally do it for me. Very great firearm. Like, I'm not trying to deter anybody from that gun or any gun of your choice, because ultimately at the end of the day, you need to carry what's comfortable for you. If you're not carrying comfortable for you, don't carry at all. Because what I've learned is if you're not comfortable carrying your firearm or shooting your firearm, you won't carry it. And then that's when it's a situation where you're not able to defend yourself when you should be able to. I've noticed that too, especially when you talk about like EDC, right? You see these guys on YouTube that do their EDC pocket dumps, right? And you're seeing like these SF operators that are walking around with gummy bears and knives and like multiple lives, tack lights. They're running, full on appendix carry, gun, red dot sight, extra mags, all that stuff. Those dudes were trained in carrying firearms for a living. You know what I mean? You go through military training, you got a gun on you. But an everyday civilian is not going to be carrying like gummy bears in their pocket or something unless they're a diabetic like I am. You know what I mean? That's something where I always have some type of sugary something around me, but it's not something that your everyday person's going to carry, right? That's one thing. But you don't want to overload yourself and have something that's going to make you not comfortable, because if you're not comfortable, you're not going to carry. And I will say this. There's a lot of times where I probably don't have my firearm on me, where I'm just running to the store real quick. And then I start thinking about it and going, okay, it's like car accidents. They're more likely to happen within 5 miles of your home than when you're off trying to drive from state to state, because you're more vigilant on what's going on in a long term drive than you are just going down to the store where you're comfortable. So never get 100% comfortable, but if you're not comfortable with your firearm, don't carry it. Get yourself a concealed carry gun that's going to be comfortable to carry. Most of these guns now are setting themselves up to be almost identical when it comes to like weight, capacity, width. The 365 is thin. It's very thin. If you hold it side to side with a Glock 43X, you'll see there's a good almost quarter-inch difference in width of the physical firearm. Plus, it has the capability to hold more. And of course, they have their proprietary single to double stack mag in their compact. Like, that's crazy. Now, I like SIG because a lot of their trigger packs, like on the 320, I can pull out of the full size frame, put it into a X compact frame or into a carry frame, and turn it into 5 different guns. Glock just doesn't have that ability.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing I will say when it comes to Glock, the nice part about it is with the, polymer 80 lowers that you can go out, mill out, all you really got to do is buy that polymer lower plus the Glock upper, whether it's 17 or 19, and slap together basically what would be considered a ghost gun until you get it registered with its own serial. But then again, it also has its drawbacks because then you're having to put in trigger packs specifically made for said model, where obviously with the SIG, you can, interchange parts almost, and it ends up still working out, weirdly enough. Now, my thing is like Wes was saying, when it comes to personal carry guns, if you're not comfortable with it, you're not going to carry it. And you're not going to shoot it properly. The best thing I can say, especially for people that ask, especially myself and Griff, hey, first time new shooter, just got my carry conceal permit. What would be the perfect gun for me to carry? Obviously, when you think of perfect enough for you to carry, you want it to fit comfortably inside of the palm of your hand alongside the grip. You want to be able to, fully extend, present, aimed on your sights, be comfortable, and understand the amount of pressure it takes to pull the trigger and reset the trigger to get the next round off in an emergency situation. So obviously, first step is going to indoor gun range that lets you rent all different types of pistols. Rent a few of them out, see which one fits best for you, what you're most comfortable with. Take some time on the range, get some practice with it, and then make the decision from there. Because you don't want to go overbuying and have something way too powerful that's going to break your wrists and you're going to be uncomfortable with, but you also want something that you're going to be able to rely on and not something that's going to jam up.
Absolutely. So, perfect example. Buddy of mine, Renee, and his dad were asking me about firearms. I mean, we all know my background when it comes to guns. Anybody that knows me personally knows enough about my background to where I don't need to get into it when it comes to the firearms and the training and the different things. So I took my buddy and his dad to the gun store, and we were looking, right, your Glock 43X, your Smith and Wesson M&Ps, your SIGs. They're all roughly in the same price range. You know what I mean? So it's literally what comes down to comfort. Now both of them went with the 365. Um, Probably because I was a little bit more biased, but I gave them options. I'm not biased in the gun store of going, this is your option, that's what you get. Don't go anywhere else with it. Because, like I said, I've had Glocks, I have SIGs, I have Springfields, I have all these different types of platforms. I know what's comfortable for me, but and you'll never know just walking into a store and grabbing the gun. Yeah, it feels good. I've got a good purchase on the gun. It feels right. But then when you shoot it, if you get a snap that you don't like, that could shy you away from the gun quickly. Perfect example. We've got a Ruger LC9S, right? A little 9mm. It's shorter and more compact than my SIG. That thing is a wasp. It's quick, snappy, and it goes. I don't like it. I don't like Ruger pistols. From that experience, it's not a gun that I would invest money into. Speaking on the Glock 43X or that compact, PSA, the Palmetto State Armory, they've got what's called a PSA dagger. You can get that for $150 cheaper normally than most Glock 43Xs, and it's almost identically a Glock. You kind of brought up the polymer 80 frames and things like that, and there's a lot of those getting taken away. They're kind of hard to find now, the polymer frames and the milling them out. They're trying to stop 80%ers completely. I am going to correct you real quick on one spot on that though. The trigger pack is the gun. That's the serialized part. That is the part that is already registered. So you're not getting a trigger pack without doing a background check. So I just want to make sure we've said that part correctly. But you can end up putting it into a polymer 80 frame and making it a different gun than what it was physically serialized with.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
what I
I
meant
know
by
that's what
that
I
is
know
the
that's what you meant.
polymer 80 lower when you buy it doesn't come serialized, so you got to register it and get it serialized for it to be recognized as a fully put together weapon.
If you're going to sell it to somebody else.
Yes.
If you're physically going to be owning the firearm and you don't intend on trying to do a private party transfer or anything like that, then you don't have to go through that process. It's kind of like with suppressors. You can make your own suppressor. You can mill out your own AR-15 lower and get it serialized and sell it. You have your Form 1 process, your Form 4 process, all of the ATF regulations. Of course, they're doing it e-filing and things like that now. But I got an 80% jig. You know what I mean? I could be milling out lowers myself. I prefer, but certain brands. You've got, Daniel Defense. You've got Spikes. You've got Anderson. You've got, Aero Precision, big one. I'm a big Aero Precision guy. I love it. Flat wire springs. There's so many different things that go into ARs. Like, actually, that's a perfect example. You know what I mean? When you're talking about building something, that's a flat wire spring. I'm real big into these. It helps with a little bit of the recoil stabilization and things like that when it comes to it. There's so many different options that you physically have that you could do with these platforms. Just be safe with what you're doing, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and yeah, I totally agree with that. But now let's be honest, as much as the spring has a portion to do with the recoil. It all really comes down to the fundamentals of shooting.
100%. Stance, grip, the way you posture yourself with your firearm. Like, I wish we could get into that. Obviously, I can't touch the firearm. I teach the people that I take out and do classes, I teach them how to do a basic stance. Now, like you're prior military, so you were taught a certain way by them. You have your own way of doing things. Of course, everybody kind of tweaks their own thing. For me, I like the stand where you're about to get in a fist fight, right? Get your stance like a fighter stance. You're not super far spread on your legs. You're not exactly straight across with your feet because then you have that rock. You have good stability in your back leg. You've got support in your front leg. You bend your knees, you're good to go. You create your perfect 90. Stock of your gun goes into your elbow. When you get that stance and you put a little bit of lean forward into it, you turn and bring it to you. Your buttstock or your brace or whatever you're using will line up perfectly in your cheek weld to be right down sight. Like that's a big thing. I'm glad you brought that up. You can own the best gun in the world that these Delta operators are running, but if you don't know how to hold it and how to control it, you're going to have an issue. So, with that being said, of course, it's kind of hard to see on here, but there's angled foregrips and things that you can get to put on these firearms. But at the end of the day, what is your posture? Are you holding back by the magazine well? Are you gripping onto your actual? Well, see, I'm already doing what I normally do because that's muscle memory, right? Some people try to hold the bottom of the rifle like this.
C clamp.
I'm all about the C clamp. Exactly.
See, and I knew that, and I could tell that about you, brother. But me personally, with the military experience, I started off C clamping it too.
Yeah.
Then I went through a weird intermediate stage of underclamping.
Yep.
Then finally, I decided, you know what? It's all about taking it by the magazine weld, for me anyways. When you're up against the wall, shooting around corners and that, and, being strong with where your butt stock is of the rifle. Perfect, sheet weld hold, eyes shooting right down the sight. Now, the biggest trick, though, to managing your shot, you don't want it too far back on your finger. You don't want it too far forward. You're going to pull your shot. You want it, in that meatier portion of your first knuckle there. Okay. And you want to breathe in and then exhale before taking your shot. That's going to help you be more accurate, along with preventing a round going downrange, hitting something you didn't intend it on hitting. Because as we've talked about before, you want to make sure that you're hitting your intended target and not little Miss Sally from 34B 6 inches over from your target.
Right, exactly. And man, I'll tell you what, I tried the magwell hold. I tried undercupping. I have more precision control with the C-clamp, and the reason for that is when I'm fully extended out and I have my C-clamp on there, right? We're talking QCB. We're talking QCB, clearing structures, moving room to room, single man, double man, triple man team, or even going from a half prone crouch to, you've got your knee and you're kind of using support. My C clamp gives me point to shoot, drive the gun ability. Because, perfect example. Obviously, like I said, I can't touch a firearm, which sucks. But if I'm in position and I got to bring my firearm up and I drive where I'm going, it's a snap and go, like bang, bang. You know what I mean? I have more control and stability by getting that C clamp. But you're right. When you're going to move around corners, obviously, now you got to take into angles. Angles is going to be a factor. Where's the room? When you go to clear the physical door, you got to take into account, what is my angles, right? Because you're not going to just walk up on a door jamb and step out, now you have too much body out there. You're now pretty much dead. That's a tunnel of
Yep.
death. So I'll go from a right shoulder to a left shoulder and do quick turns. Obviously staying tucked, but doing a quick turn into a physical doorway, giving you the smallest picture period.
Exactly.
There's so many different tactics and things that go into declaring houses and things, but with that, when you're learning how to shoot, there's different ways. Different instructors are going to teach you different things. You got to form your things, and that's one of those things where Wendy from Sight Shooter is going to be great when we get her back on, because I know her teaching style is a little bit different than my teaching style. And when she takes out groups, she's taking out brand new shooters primarily, and she's letting them run on 22 LR pistols, little guns to just get acquainted with them. I kind of have a little bit of a different approach. It depends on the type of gun that we're physically going to work with, right? If we're going to work on an AR, I'm going to start you with this. I'm going to literally put you on my good gun. And perfect example, like I said, Renee, my buddy that I took to go get guns at the gun shop with him and his dad, him and his girlfriend went shooting with me, and she, from what I understand, she had shooting experience, but it was like so long ago that it just wasn't there, right? So she
So
had
was it basically just like, beginners deer hunting course type ordeal, or
the way that I operated that course with them was more or less fundamentals: how to stand, how to hold, how to shoot, how to breathe, where to place trigger, trigger finger, things like that. Finger off the trigger unless you're ready to shoot. Like to the point to where it's like I have my hand on the gun, I have the gun, I'm in complete control. You are holding the back end. You will be squeezing the trigger. You will alert me before you squeeze the trigger. But if you do not feel safe, you say, I don't feel safe, you let go. I have full control of the gun because I'm not letting go at all through your shot. You've got one round in the magazine, so there isn't any accidental discharges. We're talking about keeping muzzle discipline, keeping it down range. You got to walk off the range, muzzles up above your head and everybody else's. How to hand off a firearm, that type of thing, right? So the control aspect of it, right? Because I have that RSO certification, the range safety officer cert. So I understand how to run a line with multiple shooters. So when I take people out to go shooting, especially when it's more like a first time encounter with guns, and I tell all these people too, I'm like, look, I could be the nicest guy in the world, but when you're on my line, I will not be nice because safety comes first. I'll be nice until something becomes an issue, and I'm going to address that. And I will address it by any means necessary at that point. And that's why I said, I will hold the firearm physically. I don't care how close I am to the muzzle when it comes to hearing it. Of course, I stay behind the muzzle, but I'm going to have some type of physical contact with the firearm while you're shooting, regardless if it's a pistol, a revolver, an AR, a shotgun, a long gun. I don't care what it is. I'm going to have some type of hand on the gun and hand on you. Because if I need to grab barrel, pull away, and push you out of the way, I've got gun here and muzzle control. You're safe away from the firearm. So
yep,
it's
and
it's that.
yeah, and you said it perfectly as far as the way you run the range, and the way me and Griff run ours when we have people out with us is, we, especially if they're first time new shooters, this might help you out a little bit, because like Wendy was sight shooter, you start out with the 22, shoot that for a bit, we get you comfortable on a smaller, less recoiled firearm, and then we start working in slowly to the heavier stuff like the 9 mil, the 38, and the 40, and then eventually, down the road, if once you're comfortable with that, then we work in the AR and the AK platforms.
All right, I'm gonna throw a counter at you. And we're gonna wrap the show up here probably in like 8 minutes. I just wanted to battle back and forth a little bit with you. This is good. You know what I mean? We're giving people different views on just how we run the way that we run our guns. So like you kind of talked about, I agree with you, but I disagree with you. Right, 22 is a good caliber to start to learn to be comfortable. But when I take people with me out to the range, I'm gonna start them on the AR platform if I know we're gonna be working with ARs, and I'll explain why. So obviously 5.56, 223, 5.56 being more military utilized round, your 223 being your civilian round. A 223 is essentially a 22, longer cartridge, more powder, you know what I mean, more projectile. I would rather start you on a rifle and get the loud one out of the way because now I'm going to make you comfortable. Plus, the fact that a rifle is significantly easier to physically control and be safe with. A pistol, you don't have that third support. You're not shouldering it. You're all wrist, and if you don't hold it right, it could flip up out of your hands. And there's things that could happen. So, like with Renee and his girlfriend, like I said, when I had them out there, I had her start on that. And of course, I started at first. I go, okay, you're going to stand off back over here to the side. I'm going to shoot a couple of rounds downrange because I want you to hear it. I want you to be aware of what's going on. I want you to have that little bit of fear because now I know you're going to be extra safe when you go to get behind the gun because you're afraid. You don't want to make the wrong move. So I'll put a couple rounds downrange. And then the 223 obviously does not kick very much at all, if anything, in reality. So we move to that. I get her going on that. She's like, okay, I like this. This isn't bad. Put one round down, and then I went, okay, how do you feel? What'd you smell? What'd you see? I asked those questions after your first shot fired. What did it smell like? Well, I didn't really smell anything. Okay, well, I'll ask you that question again a little bit later on in the session. How did it feel? Did it kick real hard? Did it scare you? Was it too much? Not enough? What are you thinking? You know, I get your mind going on what's going on. Then I'll put more 3 or 4 rounds into the magazine. Okay, now we're going to take it slow. You squeeze and you're ready to squeeze. Alert me when you're going to shoot. Alerting me when you're going to shoot means you're going to give me a command. I am firing. I will then signal go ahead and go. Because I still have my hand on the firearm. Obviously, we need to be safe. Put down those rounds. Usually by the get 5 rounds off because you got your first one, and I ask you how you feel, what you smell. Give you a little bit of time to breathe, collect your thoughts, make yourself a little more comfortable. Now you got 4 rounds. When those are all gone, by 5 shots in, they either love it or they hate it, right? Or they're still curious and they want more. So then, then you go a little bit more into it. Get through a whole 30 round mag on my AR, and then I go, okay, are you comfortable to move into the shotgun, the Scorpion, different calibers, different things before I even get to the pistols? And the reason for that is I want you to learn your stance on a rifle first. I want to learn grip, trigger discipline. Most pistols don't have safeties. ARs do. I want that all dialed in first before I come and put a pistol in your hand because that pistol can be a lot more deadly. Easier to turn, easier to do this with. You're not doing that with an AR. That AR is here. You're moving like this, right? So as an instructor, it allows me to control the situation better. That's my take on it.
And I don't disagree with that, but, obviously you're RSO certified. I have the military training, and when me and Griff take people out, we kind of tag team it. He's RSO certified, and with my military background, we kind of both approach it from a way of, all right, and we start them out with 1 round in, or, we'll do 3 rounds in the magazine, slap it in for them, show them how, hand grip's supposed to be, rack it for them, and then, we stand right behind them, have them present the pistol. Okay, whenever you're ready, nice, slow, easy. They pull the trigger, release, and we always make sure, and this is our favorite line, keep your booger hook out of the bang bang switch until you're ready to send your round.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you touched on that, right? Because that's one of my big things. Slow, steady squeeze. Don't rush to the trigger. Don't be so scared that you don't actually pull the trigger. Slow, steady, pull through. Pull through. Breathing while doing it. Try to catch it on an exhale or that skipping the heartbeat. Like you see on movies. They say it on movies. You want to shoot in between the heartbeats. Why? It's going to be the most accurate. And what I've found is when you get a trigger pull to happen and it catches you off guard, you're more likely to have a more accurate shot than you are when you're really trying to focus on that trigger. Because then, like you said, you go too deep into it, you're pulling. If you don't go enough, you're pushing. If you're right on top of it, but you squeeze too hard and your grip crunches on you, you're gonna pull. It's
Yeah,
all trigger discipline, and
exactly.
it's funny to me because like you see on this one, I've got the green dot, I've got a magnifier on it, I've got flip up iron sights to be able to run with it if the sight dies. I can run pretty much a bunch of different sights. There's 45-degree offsets, which are not on that gun anymore. I used to have them on there. But there's so many different sights. But at the end of the day, if you don't know how to handle your firearm, trying to aim down your sights is never going to be easy. I get people that will try to look down the sight and they're doing the super pirate squint, and I can't see the dot. Don't put your head to the gun. Bring the gun up to your eyes. Bring your sight to your eyes, not try to move in your head to find it. But that's experience, right? Where we have experience, others don't. And that's the key thing, is ensuring that people are being taught properly and we can prevent a lot of these big issues that are happening in our country today.
I agree.
Well, with that being said, we want to thank you guys for joining us back. Like I said, the categories are going to get more fine tuned. We're going to have everything a lot more detailed, a lot more oriented. This was kind of just get back in, have a conversation, get everybody back to accustomed to being around us and talking with us and hanging out. Our main categories are going to be your patriotic message, your Pro 2A news, the shout outs and sponsors, and a tactical gear review at the end. And then we're probably going to sit and just kind of chit chat about anything, stuff like we just did. How to shoot at the range, how to be safe, how to take people out with you and teach them to be safe. Because at the end of the day, as a gun owner, we are all responsible for our firearms, regardless of the hands that they're in. And if you don't ensure that either you or the people that are with you are being safe, we as a country will never be safe. We can't just rely on our military to be that force to protect us. Now, I love and care for our military on a different level. I've got family members that are in the military, and I respect the hell out of them. We also need to carry that safety and that mentality, too, that being safe is the number one thing when it comes to firearms.
I agree. And, honestly, with today's day and age, things have been crazy over the last couple of years. You really never know what's going to happen. So obviously, first things first, you want to be as safe as you possibly can be. Now, with us getting back into this, things are going to fall back into place. Audio side's going to be back. And here's the 2023. Welcome back to Sincity Tactical, and thank you for joining us.
Catch y'all later.